Hey there, welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology for July 10th through the 16th. And this week we have a few things that are shifting. We have Mars moving into the sign of Virgo. We have Mercury making a very striking aspect with Pluto, and some other things that are happening. So my name is Shauna McGrath. I'm a psychotherapist and astrologer, and I'm excited to share the astrology of this week with you. So to start us off, I'm going to pull one card from the Sacred Earth Oracle deck to just start us off for a theme for this week. And so I'm really curious how you're feeling, how you're doing, what's present for you. We're moving into the waning phase of the lunar cycle. So the waning phase is following the full moon. So we had our full moon in Capricorn last week, and or not last week, we had our full moon in Capricorn maybe about a week and a half ago, I think. And this means that the moon has reached its apex of full expansive brightness, a full expansive awareness, high emotional peak, because the moon is related to our emotions. And now we're starting to allow things to settle, bring our energy more inward. And that is the emotional tone over this entire week. Okay, so one card for you. So this card, the title is Listen. And the image is a figure, a person from a side profile, and where their ear and sort of the side of their face is, they have what looks like one of those spiral shells. There's a name for it, but I can't remember. Let me know if you know what the name of this sort of shell is. But it has this spiral pattern where the ear is. And there's a lot of like fluid. It almost looks like seaweed that the figure is surrounded in. So I'm going to read some of the notes from the guide book for you. And again, the word here is listen. So immediately I'm thinking about being receptive, listening. This is really, what we're going to tie this into the Mercury Pluto aspect that's happening this week. So some of the meanings are, you can talk yourself in circles but remain unheard. At other times, you can be heard without uttering a word. The onus of understanding is on the listener. Love, care, and consideration are expressed by an attentive ear and a welcoming heart. Sound is wasted on those who won't hear. Save your voice. You will learn more by listening. A truth needs to be heard. I love that for us. I'm gonna put that right here. So what's that feels very relevant for the astrology. So what's going on this week? So we're in the waning phase, right? We had a third quarter moon in Aries this past Sunday. So Sunday, July 9th, marked sort of the third quarter moon is a point of transition. It can be sort of like a mini inner crisis, sort of, where you feel like, oh, like sort of like torn, or where you need to decide, or you need to redirect or compromise, or it has this kind of confrontational sort of energy, but it's more internal. So it's more like feeling an internal need to decide or to redirect. And that was in the sign of Aries. And that was also connecting in with Venus and Mars. So all of that to say that I think this week there's a lot of energy around continuing to refine your internal awareness and where it is that you want to focus your energy. Now, this week we have Mars, which is the planet of action and the planet of courage, assertiveness, confrontation, fighting for things. And it's also associated with agitation or angstiness. That's sort of what gets us amped up about things, for better or for worse. Now, Mars is moving from Leo into Virgo. So we have this shift from really Mars and Leo, and Mars has been with Venus too. So it's sort of like there's been this emphasis around passion and excitement and really wanting to focus on what you enjoy and do things that you enjoy. Whereas Mars and Virgo is about healing, and it's about being more discriminating, it can be more analytical. I think that Virgo, yes, Virgo can be analytical and very focused on the critical awareness and doing things step by step. Virgo energy is very good at systems and rituals and routines. And I think that that is just one piece of Virgo. So Virgo is also very much about making something better, making it meaningful. And there's a strong theme around healing and healing, rejuvenation, revitalizing, refreshing. Both Virgo and Pisces have this dynamic that is about renewal and healing. And so Mars here, there's energy and ambition and enthusiasm and physical energy toward these types of things around Virgo things, around renewal. And I think that Mars in Virgo, like, yes, we usually think of Mars as being sort of about acting quickly, and that can be the case, but I sort of like Mars moving into Virgo for us because it gives Mars a very purposeful action. And of course, wherever Virgo is in your chart, Mars is moving into this place. And so there is ambition and energy and enthusiasm in that place. So, for example, if you have Virgo ruling your 10th house, that's going to be in your career. So there's more ambition around career. Also, maybe we want to watch out for managing feelings of anger or resentment, and sort of like coming in too hot in career, if that sort of makes sense. Now, the other piece of what's happening this week is we have Mercury in Cancer making an opposition to Pluto. So Mercury is actually the planet that rules Virgo. So there's this interesting connection here with Virgo, of course, is about communication and processes. So Mercury, the planet of communication, sharing ideas, of moving from one place to another, thresholds, boundaries. Mercury is also a symbol of the symbolic. Mercury is our ability to know that one thing can mean many different things. It's a symbol of language and divination and our ability to read things. Because when we communicate, we're not just hearing the words, we're not just hearing the sounds, we're also picking up on body language and energy and the feeling. Scientifically, we have these things called mirror neurons that where we actually mirror each other, and we're actually unconsciously reading each other's behaviors and patterns, like very subtle cues. So this is all Mercury, because Mercury is our ability to communicate and to decode those symbols, whether it is conscious or unconscious. So what does all of that mean? So Mercury, this planet of communication, and I'm emphasizing the unconscious and the nonverbal behavior part of Mercury, because Mercury is still in the sign of Cancer, which is about reading and more about tuning into the emotive communication. So Mercury opposite Pluto is a transit that emphasizes our ability to really hone into the truth of something, to go very deeply into something. Pluto is about depth, intensity. It can be about crisis or feelings of crisis, feeling like something is really dramatic or really important. Pluto has this magnitude to it. It's about power, power dynamics, how we feel powerful. how we feel powerful over ourselves or over others, how we execute the power and the responsibility that we have. Um, it is also a symbol of that which the shadow, essentially, that which we um, don't want to talk about or don't want to see, whether that is individually, in relationship, culturally. Pluto is anything that is disowned or rejected as unacceptable. And for that reason, Pluto is also associated with shame and healing, and the catharsis kind of healing, and the healing that comes when we have safety and containment around our shame, around feelings of shame, or around feeling, um, especially transitioning from feeling um, like we're in a an, a dysfunctional power dynamic, or where there's manipulation. Pluto is a symbol of the power and resilience that comes when we move through a situation like that, when we navigate those types of situations. So Pluto, for this reason, so Pluto can feel very when we have a Pluto transit, it can feel very vulnerable to experience a Pluto transit, because Pluto sort of brings us down into the very core of our essence, like what our resources are, what we rely on, what is actually true. Um, and when we have Mercury opposite Pluto like this, there can sort of be maybe a confrontation with a truth, a confrontation with the shadow, with the unconscious. Um, there can be power dynamics or subtle manipulations that are revealed, and this this doesn't have to be something that is incredibly painful or dramatic. It can even be in small ways where we realize a pattern or a way of being that we've had that we didn't know that we did. And I think, again, it can kind of be, it can feel confrontational, because to become aware of our unconscious patterning is very uncomfortable. It's sort of like embarrassing sometimes, even, I think that's the nature of the shadow, that there can be shame and embarrassment there. And so and the more that we become aware of things, the more that that helps us to feel more integrated and more confident and capable. And it helps us to actually feel more like ourselves. It helps us to be more of who we actually are at our core essence, in a way that is clear and empowering. So the other piece of this, so Mercury makes this aspect to Pluto, and then Mercury jumps into Leo. So like it feels like there's a lot of intensity this week with Mercury Pluto, and then when Mercury moves into Leo, they're sort of like, okay. um, there's this lightness that happens. And so I want you to keep that in mind, and keep that in mind for yourself, that yes, this is a transit that we're experiencing. And on top of this, so this is important too for folks who are experiencing a Pluto transit to their birth chart now. So especially for folks who have personal planets or points in the later degrees of cardinal signs, this is going to be something that keys into your birth chart more directly. So for folks who have personal planets or points, what I mean by that is, let's say if you have your moon, sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, or your ascendant, or even your midheaven at late degrees of Cancer, Capricorn, or Aries and Libra, this is going to key in for you even more personally. That being said, we're all experiencing this transit, right? This is something that's happening in the sky, and it's connecting to each of us. And so we can be very patient and compassionate with ourselves, And then also know that everyone else is experiencing this too. And so we don't take it personally when someone's having their moment, when someone is having their own in-depth psychology, we call it getting hooked into a complex where you sort of feel like taken over by a strong emotion or a strong thought pattern in this sort of case. Because Mercury is thoughts, Pluto is getting like Pluto can also show where we kind of get fixated on something. And so Mercury, Pluto, there can be a tendency to get fixated on something. Which, if it's something that brings us joy and pleasure and it's life inducing, that's great if it's like a research project. But if it's a thought like, oh, I suck, or I'm not good enough, and we sort of like go into a spiral, we want to try to notice that that's happening. Number one, just notice that it's happening, and then find ways to get off that carousel, so to speak. Now, so I'm going to pull some cards for us. And the other small transit that's happening this week is we have the sun in Cancer making a sextile to Uranus. And this is an opportunity aspect. It is helpful. It's more subtle. The sun is our conscious awareness. The sun is also a symbol of authority and power and success, especially where you feel seen and recognized by your peers and your work. And then Uranus is about change and unexpected change and radical reinvention. So we have this happening in a water sign, Cancer, and then Uranus, of course, has been in Taurus for quite some time. So it feels like there's sort of this new insight that can come in very rapidly. And I encourage you to look for those little opportunities. Those little can be a synchronicity, can be an interest, but anything that calls to you, that sort of feels like there's an opportunity there. There's a pathway forward there, especially when we have sort of this intense Pluto energy going on. And I don't know, you may feel fine. I mean, sometimes I look at the transit and when I'm talking about it, I'm like, oh, this I don't want to freak you out. I don't want to say it's all going to be bad. I think that sometimes Mercury Pluto can be a huge healing and a huge blessing. And it is, to some extent, it is what we make it when we bring more awareness to it. All right. Okay, so I'm using the Wild Unknown Tarot deck today. So I have the 5 of Pentacles, which has this droopy sort of rose on it, which is interesting because I think I pulled this card last week. So there's a continuation of the story here, which I will get to. The second card is the 2 of Swords. I pulled this reversed. This card is so interesting in this deck. It has sort of what looks like a solar eclipse image, and it like has this portal kind of effect to it. 2 of Swords is about decision points and really tapping into the balance of intuition and logic when we're making decisions. And then the 9 of Pentacles here. Really beautiful card. 9 of Pentacles is about wealth and success and abundance and physical, not just physical security, but physical comfort, like feeling like everything is okay. So really interesting that we have the pillars of this reading is the 5 of Pentacles, which is about feeling lack or feeling financial insecurity, and then the 9 of Pentacles, which is about financial ease and financial abundance. And in the middle here is a decision. So what is this? What's going on here? If I remember right, last week we had the 5 of Pentacles reversed in the ending position, which was sort of whenever I see the 5 of Pentacles reversed, it's about the the ending of a financial challenge, and it's also about knowing that anything that you've been through that's really difficult, that you're taking with you the the growth and development and like the grit, any grit that you have developed, the stamina that you've developed through going through a difficult time, you're taking that with you, and that nothing can take that away from you. Now that this is coming up here in the beginning tells me that there's still a little bit of fear or insecurity around, is it enough? Can I do it? Um, Five of Pentacles is a symbol of feeling like we don't have enough. And I don't want to discount that sometimes like that is very literally the case, and that's, in this world that we live in, we need to have, we need to have the ability to pay our bills and feed ourselves and shelter ourselves, etc. And in this, the feeling that I'm getting here, um, especially when we have Mercury, Pluto in the sky, is that there's something here where um, it's more about the fear and the insecurity that's happening, because the other piece of this card in the traditional Waite Smith deck is that there are these figures that are walking past a church, and there's in the church you can see there's a light coming there. So this card is a reminder that even though we can feel like we don't have the resources that we need, that there is something that maybe we're walking past. And so I want you to think about that. Is it's going to hit differently for each of us. But there's something here where there's a fear, there's an insecurity. With this card in particular from this deck, I also feel a sense of sadness too, sort of like deflation. And so I don't know, maybe you feel that. Maybe you're like, Shauna, I feel great. If you feel great, this card might be a symbol of there's something that you're walking past that maybe there's a resource for you to take advantage of here, is kind of the way that I'm feeling it. Now, the middle card, the Two of Swords, this is about making a decision, and this card really emphasizes slowing down, noticing what's happening, listening to your gut, listening to your intuition, and using your logic at the same time. So like pairing those two capacities that you have. And that this card is reversed, it feels like there's some confusion here. So even more need to like really slow things down, look at what's going on, and to especially to trust your intuition, and the ways to tap in, like what helps you to feel into that, to um unhook yourself or sort of get off of that carousel of the rumination, and that there is a sense of ease and grace here that comes in through the Nine of Pentacles. This Nine of Pentacles has the feathers, 4 feathers surrounding the coin figures, and so that here to me, I mean, that is connecting in with the air element, with the symbol of birds, with flight. And so I don't know what that means, but I'm just sharing that with you because that's sort of what's coming in here. So if you work with nature, or spirit, or anything that involves the bird symbol or the symbol of flight or the symbol of air, that can be maybe very helpful. And the swords also are the element of air and thought. So anything that we can do to sort of calm our thoughts. So, okay, that is your astrology for this week. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you resonate with me and my work, I would love to hear from you. I do offer astrology sessions as well as psychotherapy. You can find out more about that below or on my website, theastropsyche.com. I am wishing you a wonderful week and sending you lots of love, and I'll see you soon. Bye.